It finally happened. The caravan has arrived. Instead of D-Day, we have C-Day. And instead of brave American soldiers washing up on our shores, we have women in tight spandex t-shirts and 7-year-olds in diapers. What's up, everybody? Today, obviously, we're going to talk about the Migrant Caravan. But perhaps I should clarify. We're going to talk about the first and biggest migrant caravan, not one of the 2 or 3 others that are following in its wake. The caravan of migrants that the media claims are fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries has finally washed up on the American border. On Sunday, hundreds of Central American migrants, most of them young men from extremely violent countries like Honduras and El Salvador, made a rush for the U.S. border and attempted to break through the barrier between San Diego and Tijuana. They succeeded in creating a hole in the border fence and attempted to rush through, which begs the question, do we really want people in our country whose first act in our country was breaking our immigration laws and destroying our border fencing? Rocks and projectiles were being thrown at U.S. Border Patrol agents. The border was being rushed, so thankfully, the Border Patrol stepped in and intervened. Border Patrol agents used tear gas, the same kind of stuff used in domestic police operations, to disperse the crowd. With the fence being rushed, the border being broken through, a hole in the border fence, I'm not sure what people would have preferred the Border Patrol agents do, in this case, to prevent an invasion from occurring. As far as non-lethal methods go, tear gas was probably the best option. I suppose, though, if the media would have preferred, Border Patrol agents could have used live ammunition. But of course, this totally rational, normal, reasonable response by Border Patrol agents is causing the left and the media to collectively lose their minds. Blormf is gassing women and children, cried the Washington Post. This is another Holocaust, another Shoah, cried Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In reality, of course, it was none of these things. By rushing the border and attempting to invade the U.S., these people actually did a great thing. They proved what many of us have been saying for the longest time, that many of these people are violent invaders that have no place in America, and they actually gave Trump political cover to take action. Additionally, their behavior is causing them to become increasingly unwelcome in Mexico, which is leading the Mexicans to increase their deportations of these caravaneers before they ever even reach the U.S.-Mexico border. We'll talk today about how the media and the left are treating this story, and how they are desperately trying to twist it and spin it around so it's a negative story about Trump. We'll talk about the hypocrisy of the media and many members of the American public about when it is and when it isn't okay for a nation or a people to defend their border. Borders for some, but not for others. And we'll talk about what should be learned from Sunday's events, and policy options that I desperately hope President Trump pursues. Like many people have said, if this country is going to get serious about immigration, the window is quickly closing. This is going to be a video full of information and primary sources that you can use when you're having conversations about this to help you push back on the media and the left's narrative. But first, a gift idea for you, your family, and friends this Christmas. We often associate Christmas with shiny things. Tinsel, glitter, glimmering candles, glossy wrapping paper, and glittering snow are all part of Christmas time. The fact that you don't see them every day makes you appreciate them, and the Christmas season, that much more. But then, like Christmas, they've come and gone. Something shiny that won't be gone once Christmas is over is Noble Gold's solid silver Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. You've probably seen the website, TrumpCoin2020.com. Since they minted these back in July, Noble Gold have sold thousands of these beautiful coins, as collector's items, for investments, and even to add to IRA and 401k rollovers. That's right, because these are 0.99% fine silver, the IRS even allows them to be included in your retirement fund. How about that? Of course, there is a Christmas special offer on right now. To find out what it is and how you can get a hold of a very special gift for your favorite Trump supporter, go to TrumpCoin2020.com and put in James as the promo code to receive free shipping if you buy 3 coins or more. Don't wait for the special offer to end. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and don't forget the offer code James and find out how you can shine this Christmas. Okay, so let's begin with the facts of the situation. The size of the caravan has changed over time. It's gotten bigger, it's gotten smaller, and at one point it was as large as 14,000 migrants. But now, according to most estimates, the caravan is approximately 7,000 or 8,000 people strong. The media is labeling these people as asylum seekers, people coming to seek refuge from their horrible, violent country, which, by the way, you are not allowed to call a blank hole, and seek refuge in the beautiful, wonderful US of A. But of course, as we talked about in my previous video about this caravan, the vast majority of these people are not refugees at all. They're not asylum seekers at all. They're simply economic migrants. They're economic migrants, most of whom want to come to America, work under the table, and lower wages for Americans. Most of the jobs they would be doing are manual labor, and the demand for manual labor is falling as the economy becomes increasingly automated, and entire sectors of the economy become automated. We don't need more manual laborers. We need more robots. In fact, if we had fewer manual laborers, that would incentivize companies to pay those workers more, which would also act as an incentive for them to invest in automation. Additionally, the idea that they're seeking asylum and refuge is just patently false. Asylum is designed to protect people who are facing political persecution in their country. These people, by their own admission, mission are coming to the US to seek jobs. They're fleeing their countries because of what the left is calling economic insecurity. Sorry, the fact that you live in a poor, blank hole country does not entitle you to come live in my country. Unemployment is not persecution, and the fact that your country is full of bad people who build garbage governments and like to kill each other, that's not my problem. Because what happens when you bring in large amounts of people from the third world is that you eventually become the third world. People emulate the cultures, practices, and conditions they're familiar with, and they end up bringing their problems with them. MS-13, one of the most dangerous and violent gangs in the country, if not the world, responsible for widespread killings and child prostitution. Guess who founded it? If you guessed El Salvadoran immigrants that came to LA and brought their problems with them, you would be right. So when we express concern about mysterious people we don't know coming into our country and pretending to be refugees, it's entirely reasonable. Additionally, even if these people weren't potential criminals and weren't potentially violent, we still don't need them. They belong in their own countries. And if their countries are bad, well, how do we expect those countries to ever get better if all of their supposed good people are leaving every generation and coming to the United States? We are contributing to a situation where these countries stay bad forever and never improve because all of the good people are constantly leaving. Oh, and by the way, how do we know that these people in this caravan will not be eligible for asylum? First of all, statistics. Historically, fewer than 10% of people from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador that claim asylum end up actually being eligible for it. Additionally, they have already refused asylum from safe countries, including Mexico. They're coming to the US to be reunited with their families after previous deportations, or to go get a job, neither of which are conditions that qualify you for asylum. Plus, the asylum system is fraught with fraud and abuse. Just last week, an attorney from New York was convicted of asylum fraud after running a scheme where she lied about alleged persecution on 180 migrants' applications for asylum. But not only do we have the data, we also have their own words. I'll include links to several examples below of interviews with these caravan migrants where they discuss the fact that they're coming to the US not to flee persecution, but to go get a job or seek out a better life. My personal favorite is this guy, Ramon Izaguirre, a previously deported illegal alien, who says the following, quote, "All my life is there, waiting for me. I miss my PlayStation. I miss Buffalo Wild Wings. I miss my car." Sorry, but access to Buffalo Wild Wings is not a universal human right. Alright, so that's some background on the caravan itself. Let's talk now specifically about what happened on November 25th. According to the media, Blonard Glorf, Orange Cheetah racist man, personally ordered the gassings of 6 Gorillian Mexican migrant children, epic libtard Hitler style. How do you know a journalist is lying? He's typing on his keyboard. In this case, the situation played out pretty much how I described earlier. Border Patrol used tear gas to defend the border against the 100 or so migrants that were attempting to illegally and forcefully gain access to the country. If you illegally and forcefully try to enter someone's home, you can't be surprised when they use force to defend it. That same principle applies here, and luckily for these migrants, the force was not lethal. The media and the left are, predictably, making a massive deal about tear gas being deployed near children. You must be a Nazi if you think gassing women and children is even remotely okay. Assad did it. Hitler did it. We're gonna find out who gave the order. Nothing says, "We gas immigrant children like blood-red Christmas trees." These children are barefoot, in diapers, choking on tear gas. A little girl from Honduras stares into the camera, her young features contorted in anguish. She's barefoot, dusty, and clad only in a diaper and t-shirt, and she's just had to run from clouds of choking tear gas fired across the border by US agents. Yes, if you believe the media accounts, President Trump is the man in the high castle personally ordering these gassings on the border. Thanks to democracy, the people who believe that have the same vote you do. Remember that. In America, if you have a child and you take that child and put them in a dangerous situation, you can be arrested for child endangerment. If I took my kid to a protest where I knew that violence may occur and I knew there was a possibility of force being used against me and my child, I wouldn't just be an irresponsible parent. I would be a criminal guilty of child endangerment. That's the legal standard here, but oh no, it's a completely different set of rules for this lady and her Frozen t-shirt and her Elsa kids. She dragged her kids to a border clash, an attempted invasion of a sovereign country, and now she has the gall to complain that her and her kids were somehow caught up in it. No, you knew the risks. You knew that President Trump and the United States government had repeatedly said over the past few months that no one will be allowed to illegally cross our border. You knew about the policy requiring asylum seekers to seek out asylum and apply for asylum at designated ports of entry, but you still tried to go to a fence crossing that was not at a designated port of entry anyways. You chose to break the rules. You chose to be a part of the invasion caravan. And it's because of you, mother of these 2 kids, that your children were exposed to tear gas. It's not the US's fault. It's not the Border Patrol's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's your fault. You're the one that dragged them out there in diapers, which is weird considering that one girl looks 5, 6, or 7 years old. Strange. But you're the one who dragged them out into what you knew would be a line of fire. I've seen some conservatives try to justify this and explain it away by saying that, oh no, it's okay because Obama used tear gas on the border too. No, that's a bad line of argument. You're conceding to the left's premise that the use of tear gas was somehow immoral, and you're saying it's okay because Obama did it. Remember, Obama is entirely a non-factor at this point. You win this argument not by shifting the blame to Barack Obama, because then you're agreeing that the use of tear gas was a negative thing, and you're blaming Obama for setting the precedent. You're still admitting that Trump shouldn't have used the tear gas. It's a bad way to frame the argument. You win this argument by shifting the blame to the rightful owner, the migrants and the mother in this case. If they had not tried to break our rules, these children would have never been exposed to tear gas. It's that simple. Now, let's talk about the total hypocrisy when it comes to border defense. This week, a man named John Allen Chow, an American missionary, was killed by tribespeople on the remote island of North Sentinel in the Indian Ocean. He was killed by the tribespeople while visiting the island attempting to preach Christianity to them. And all of a sudden, people everywhere became deeply invested in the idea of defending one's country and homeland. You know what? I like this meme. No, I love this meme. I love this logical process. Let's try applying the same standard to Maria and her tag-along kids she dragged into a war zone. You wouldn't like that very much, would you, leftists? If you're a Christian American missionary and you suffer from making bad decisions, it's your fault, and you should have known the consequences. But if you're a third worlder that wants to invade America, and you're warned repeatedly and publicly by the most powerful man in the most powerful nation over the course of 2 months, and you try to break into our country anyways, and you suffer the consequences, that's somehow Orange Man's fault. So how can Trump fix this? Well, obviously, we need a border wall. If these people can make holes in the concertina wire and slip through, let's give them something they can't just cut through with a pair of $5 wire cutters. Trump needs to get the wall funded in this December session of Congress. It's really non-negotiable. If he waits until the next Congress takes over, the Democrat-controlled Congress, there is no way, none, that he gets it funded before 2020. And who knows how many voters will stay home in 2020 because of the lack of progress on Trump's signature issue, immigration. If he doesn't get it done in December, the only other option is declaring a state of emergency on the border and ordering the military to begin constructing the wall. He would be justified in doing so. Just look at the video. But the odds of that happening are not very high. But if you want to see a wall built and immigration restrictions implemented in this country, then what's happening on the border right now is actually very good news. These people are giving us powerful visuals of hundreds of people storming our border, invading our country, and hopefully these visuals will be impossible for people to ignore. The behavior of these people, their fake asylum claims, should be used by Trump and the right as further evidence for why we need strong borders and why we need to keep these people out of our country. Besides the wall, what can Trump do? Well, we're still waiting on that birthright citizenship executive order. If he ends birthright citizenship by executive order, that will go a long ways towards turning off the magnet that attracts people to this country, that brings people here to have their anchor babies. They know that under our current immigration laws, an illegal alien can come to America, have her anchor baby, get deported, and then that anchor baby can chain migrate their entire family into the US. It needs to end. And instructing the military to establish a permanent presence on the border would be a very good development as well. Treating immigration like a matter of foreign policy instead of a matter of domestic policy would be a very important shift. Certainly, America can be better protected by troops on our southern border than troops on the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, or troops in Syria and Iraq. And finally, deportations need to be increased. ICE needs to be conducting raids on places that hire illegal aliens. It's as simple as that. Not only does illegal alien labor harm Americans by driving our wages down and decreasing economic opportunity, it's dangerous for the laborers themselves. They're often treated like slave laborers with no legal recourse. So it's the best thing for everyone to have these laborers returned to their home countries. The best solution for Americans is to prevent this caravan from breaking our laws and invading our country by any means necessary. And in the long run, keeping these people in their own countries will be good for them and their countries too. Countries cannot be expected to improve if the good people are constantly fleeing and the bad people are allowed to stay and maintain power. It's not a short-term process. We're talking about decades or maybe even hundreds of years here, but that's how natural selection works, and natural selection has to be allowed to work for these people in these countries. I'm looking forward to seeing how this current caravan crisis is resolved. Apparently, Mexico is going to begin deporting these people back to their countries of origin, so that is good news. It is my hope that these people can be returned to their countries of origin as quickly and peacefully as possible, and that the United States can build a border wall so large that it dissuades crossings like this from ever happening again.